I think it's only fair if we ask Darian what kind of appliances he has in his house. Are you a Sub-Zero guy? Are you Samsung? You LG? You Maytag? What's going on in the Durant household?
KitchenAid. KitchenAid's our
Yeah.
go-to. It's always been good to us, so we're going to stick with it.
Trusty, nice and just like you back in the backfield back in the day, right? You know what you're going to get out of a good KitchenAid.
Exactly.
Hey.
Yeah, you pay a little more, but it's well worth it. And that's my repair guy said that too. He goes, if you can afford KitchenAid, he goes, get them all. He goes, but if you can't, then he gave me other options because KitchenAid's a little higher end. He goes, but it's well worth it.
You just don't cheap out on some things in life. Appliances, toilet paper.
Those are some things you cannot cheap out on whatsoever. I'll tell you that.
What did you think? What did you think of the Riders and Kadeem Carey, the announcement today?
Well, first of all, I thought the Riders did what they had to do and by winning the game. I mean, no one thought that Ottawa would come in and win. I just wanted to see how well they would play, especially, I think I said last week, I wanted to see the D-line, those defensive ends get after Ottawa's offense, and they did a great job of that. So I was happy to see the defense get after it and the Riders get a game that they were supposed to win. And, I hate to see AJ Ouellette go down so early again. It's kind of been trending lately, past couple of years of him getting banged up a little bit. I know it has to be super frustrating for him to, work so hard to go down early in game one. It's a tough thing for him, but, bringing in Kadeem Carey, a veteran guy, a guy who's super versatile, can, catch the ball out of the backfield. Veteran presence, blitz pickup, you name it. He's a back that'll definitely help this offense.
Darian, when you were watching that game, if you only caught the opening drive, Ottawa looked good. Drew Brown marching down the field. It seemed they played well in the first quarter and the fourth quarter. The second and third, it just sort of went away. But then the Rider defense, as you had mentioned, slowly got going, and the D-line took over. And Dave mentioned because of their ratio, looks like their O-line was tired by the end of the game. What did you see for the Riders? Because there was no Kean Schaefer-Baker for the most part. It was Keyshawn Johnson. What did you see out of the offense? Because Trevor Harris had to spread the ball around a little bit. What were some of the things that you went, all right, I like this? Because they didn't have all the big guns.
I just like the way, first and foremost, Samuel Emilus, how he just, he just looked like he was in, mid-season form. You could tell that his offseason was about getting better, being more explosive, and making sure he's available for Trevor, and he just came out smoking. So I was happy to see his performance and see that he was ready to go. Other than that, I just think that the Riders did what they had to do. I mean, nothing was pretty, impressive to me. I think that this was a game they should have won. They did what they had to do to win. I didn't like the fact that Drew Brown threw for over 400 yards. I think that's something that Coach Mace will address. But he said something interesting in his postgame. He said, as the late, great Rich Stubler, one of the toughest D coordinators I always had to go against, he said, I don't care how many yards they have. Did we win or lose? So, if he's going to take that attitude about it, then I'm happy for the team and them winning. But, I'm sure in those meetings, he's going to tell those DBs to tighten up a little bit and not give up so many big plays.
It was that zone, Darian, right? Where Drew Brown, to his credit, especially in that first drive, he's got a methodical, went down. He was putting it right in those soft spots, as I call them, right? Right in between the safeties, right behind the linebackers, and they're always in a zone. It's there, but you got to have the touch. I was impressed with Brown. Did you see the Riders tightening that up or throwing different looks at Drew Brown after that easy first drive?
Well, yeah, I think they did a good job of mixing up looks for Drew Brown, not really confusing him. But whenever your offense can put points on the board early, Mario Alford did a great job of special teams, setting the team up with great field position early on. Whenever you can get a lead at Mosaic and you can force the team to be one-dimensional, you're just playing in the hands of the crowd and that D-line. So I think the Riders just did a great job of getting up, building a little cushion, and then relying on the crowd, the pass rush, everything that makes Mosaic such a tough place to play, putting those odds in your favor. So if you get down and you have to throw and you become one-dimensional, then you're going to be in trouble.
When we were
What
chatting with Dave last hour, there's a lot of talk about AJ Ouellette getting injured, but when Roland Milligan went down, and it didn't seem like a play like that was overanalyzed like the Ouellette one, but you worried because a few years ago when Milligan was out of the lineup, the defense cratered. I don't think that's going to happen this time, but the reigning defensive player of the year is not in your defense anymore. You covered for it for a game where he wasn't in, but long term, no Roland Milligan, it changes the Rider D, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If you look around the league and look at the DBs around the league, the teams that will probably have the most success have that veteran guy back there, have a leader, a guy, a playmaker, a guy who can get everyone else lined up. I was just looking at Edmonton, I'm looking at Ottawa, some of these other teams with all these young DBs, and there's just communication errors. There's so many mistakes, guys looking in the backfield, not reading their keys. I mean, all of these things come into play when you're playing these younger DBs. So you have to have that veteran presence out there. You have to have a guy to constantly remind you of down and distance situational football. So without Roland in the lineup, it could definitely be tough for this Riders secondary.
Okay, let's look ahead to Hamilton here. Saturday, Bo Levi Mitchell, he's been playing in the league a long time, knows what he's doing. From what you see and what you know about Bo Levi Mitchell, Darian, what do the Riders need to do? Is he a guy that you want to pressure and blitz? Do you just frustrate him, be patient because he's going to want to take shots and he'll get antsy? How do you play Bo Levi Mitchell from your lens?
You have to attack Bo, right? You can't let him sit back there and get comfortable. He's not a guy who will get tired of taking the underneath throws and try to force one downfield. He'll just take what the defense gives you as long as you give him time. So I think you have to attack him, make his feet move, make him get outside the pocket, make him uncomfortable. I think that's the way to attack him. Now, he's going to get his yards. And if they go with the bend but don't break style, that Coach Mace usually goes with, then Bo's going to throw for a lot of yards. It's really up to this offense to put pressure on that young Hamilton defense and make them uncomfortable, and then you make Bo one-dimensional, and that's the best way to attack him.
Watching that game in Calgary, I felt bad for Bo because all of a sudden, brand new season, he's got some high-priced receivers. Same old situation. These guys are dropping passes that Bo is putting right in there, and that seemed to be the game because Hamilton played well in spurts, but they could never string it all together. As a quarterback, when you had that happen to you, I think we've asked you, do you say anything or are you just like, no, I know what these guys need to do? It's got to be frustrating, though, when you're putting it where it needs to be. And the high-priced guys are making drops that they don't normally make.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but, it's just part of the game. And game one jitters, new situation for those receivers. Even though Bo was putting the ball there, it's still a different pace with the ball coming to you in game-like situations, right? It's you can do whatever you want to do in practice. You can say that you want to simulate the game speed as much as possible, but once you're actually in the game, there's a little bit more zip that Bo's putting on those balls, and it's tough, but we're all professionals. Those guys are professionals. They should make those plays, and I think that moving forward with a confident and a veteran guy like Bo, he'll make sure he picks those guys up along the way.
If I can ask a question on what I did see of the Edmonton Elks BC Lions game, Nathan Rourke second half, like a surgeon out there. Trey Ford, it reminds me of the flag kid or the high school football kid that's very athletic. And early in the season, he burns your team because he runs around and all that. And then just say, we just got to contain this guy. And he ain't going to do it. Like, I was like, this isn't sustainable, is it?
You know what? I'm going to give him a pass. I mean, just the energy in BC Place, the upper deck just full. Yeah, I mean, just the atmosphere, it would have been tough for any quarterback to go in there and have some success. And, just speaking from personal experience, I don't think I ever had a good game in BC Place. So, I'm willing to give Trey Ford a pass on this one. even though it does seem like he's not taking the routine throws, he's not making, the plays to just stay ahead of the chains and keep the team in a good situation. He's just relying on the big play too much, and it's not sustainable. It's nothing that puts fear in the hearts of defenses because they know you'll make one or two plays, but you won't be able to do that for an entire game. So I'm just going to keep my head and my eyes in a wait and see process with Trey Ford. I'm going to give him another week or two, and I'm going to just say that atmosphere in BC Place was just a little too much for Trey in Edmonton.
On the flip side, I thought that Buck Pierce and the game plan they had for Nathan Rourke to move him around and the play calls and everything, were you as impressed as I was? Because, like I said, by the time the second half rolled around, he looked unstoppable.
Absolutely. I think Buck did a masterful job of just taking advantage of the legs of Nathan Rourke and his ability to throw the ball on a run. He's probably the best when it comes to accuracy of throwing on the run of any quarterback in the league. So if you look at what Bo did in Winnipeg and coach, he comes from under that coach Lapalisse, and I've been a part of that offense. It's one of the first offenses I've been a part of in the CFL. It's great for guys who can get outside of the pocket, use their legs. And, for those Edmonton DBs, it was just hard for them to determine whether it was a run or a pass. Do I come up and run support or do I sit back? I don't know what to do. You can see it on one of those touchdowns. The DB just was in no man's land, and he was in cover zero. He didn't know who had the ball. So, and that goes back to me saying, with these younger DBs, you need these veterans out there who have seen these plays over and over and who understand offenses and how they want to attack a defense. So great job from Buck and BC. I think we'll get more of an answer about how good this team is this week in Winnipeg on the road. We'll get a good idea of how good they are.
Back in your day and playing, besides you, who was good at that running, throwing on the run? Like Maz, I remember. And this is like pre-Darian. Tracy Ham was so good at it. Like, man, that guy could be running.
David Allen was pretty good too.
They could both be running and
pretty good.
And throw a backside post 45 yards off one foot. Like Cal Ripken throwing shortstop to first base. Like, Darian, who comes to mind when you think of QBs that can really sling it on the run?
One guy, he may be looked at as a pocket passer, but young Mike Riley was just awesome. His early BC days and early Edmonton days of getting outside the pocket and finding these guys on the run. I have to give it to Kerry Joseph as well. During his MOP run in 2000, a pass to DJ Flick it just sticks out in my head. He was rolling to his right and just hit him on a corner route, just in stride. Just an unbelievable throw. And then you have to go at Henry Burris. I mean, Hank was just, big arm. It didn't matter where he was on the field. He was always a threat to put it up in the air for 60 yards. So, those guys were just amazing to watch outside the pocket.
While smiling.
Exactly.
Smiling.
Smiling Hank.
Maz, you got one more?
Well, we got to ask. So, Darian, you won closest as far as pick the score last week. So we're going to need a prediction for this week.
Yeah, you won.
It's too early to tell. I don't know who's playing. I don't know who's playing for the Riders. I don't know who's playing for Hamilton outside of Bo Levi Mitchell in the Boveralls. Scott Milanovich will be aggressive. We know that. I don't know. How do we play this week?
I think there's blood in the water, man. I think that Hamilton got bit by a shark a little bit last week in Calgary and has a little wound, and I think the Riders will jump on that, man. I just think the Rider defense, they'll get after Hamilton and Bo Levi. I don't see much of a run game with this Hamilton team. And, this is a perfect opportunity for the Riders to go out east and come back 3-0. I know I'm looking ahead, but to try to come back 3-0 after this East Coast swing would be, a great thing going into a tough stretch of Western games. So I'm looking for the Riders to win. I think it'll be a little closer, than some experts may say, but I think I'll go with a 28-24 Rider win out there in Hamilton this week.
That's good. There's been a lot of people on the text line in and around there. So you're on par. Okay, you got that written down. See if Darian can go 2 for 2 here against us. All right, we'll catch up next Monday. We'll see how it all shakes down. Have a fun and safe week, Darian.
Thanks, guys.